So thank you so much for all of your donations to the auction and all of your bidding at the auction and all of your helping to clean up and all of your participation. Last night's proceeds from the live auction at this point are $5,455. There are, a few slots open here and there that will be open throughout the year at like the donor's invitation. The fixed price is also still open. That remains ongoing. Of 3 fixed price items, we've got one that still has openings. It's got lots of openings. It's the after church brunch. If you're going to be here anyway, hey, why not? You may as well sign up for that, just saying. And that, after today, it doesn't technically close after 6 o'clock tonight. You can sign up anytime, but I'm going to ask you to sign up by contacting the donors, which is to say Kathleen and Nancy, which is basically to say, see Kathleen for that brunch after today. Sign up on the Sign Up Genius through 6 o'clock tonight. And the silent auction is still on until 6 o'clock tonight, and I strongly encourage you to get on there if you haven't been on there. If you have been on there, check and see how your bids are doing. Check throughout the afternoon because that closes at 6 o'clock tonight, and somebody might sneak in a bid on you at the last minute. And the only other thing I want to say is to pivot to the collection that Cindy is taking today for the Thanksgiving meal. And if you brought donations for that, please bring them to Cindy. If you forgot to bring your donations today, see Cindy. Thank you.
Reverend Julia Corbett-Hemeyer. We come into this sacred space, this hallowed hour, made sacred by our presence and intention here. We come with deep gratitude for everyday blessings, for the dependable changing of the seasons as they follow one another, for smiles and waves and spoken greetings, for being with others in worship, for babies and puppies and kittens, and for the wisdom of the old. Everyday blessings that sustain us every day. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in our opening hymn, Golden Breaks the Dawn, number 353 in the Gray Hymnal.
Please remain standing as Kathy Fu lights our chalice. These, the words of the poet William Stafford. It could happen any time. Tornado, earthquake, Armageddon. It could happen. Or sunshine, love, salvation. It could, you know. That is why we wake and look out. No guarantees in this life, but some bonuses, like morning, like right now. And so may this light we now kindle awaken us to the blessings of this day, this morning, this moment of now we share together.
It is now time for our story for all ages. Today we hear a special tale called Thank You, Amu, written by Oge Mora. And I'm wondering if there are any children who would like to come up front today? Okay. Here we go. On the corner of First Streets and Long Streets, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. "What a delicious stew," Amu said. "Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had." With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious smell wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, towards the street, and around the block, until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed. "That sure sounds yummy." Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hill, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. "Miss Police Officer," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell," Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick, red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spewed out some of the thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the police officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window, out the door, down the hall, toward the streets, around the block, until knock, knock, knock. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs on the block when I smelled the most delicious smell. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Oh, stew, the vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pots for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She met a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon, the sky darkened, the street lights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened the door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We're not here to ask. We are here to give. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. The dinner was the best she ever had. Thank you, Amu. Thanks for listening. Please remain seated for our prayer hymn, Morning Has Broken, number 38 in the Gray Hymnal. In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your heart this morning. Spirit of love and life, infinite being beyond all comprehension, may you offer your innumerable blessings of love and compassion, of faith and hope, and those of sorrow and anger, which through divine love become gifts of wisdom and strength. For all you offer, we give thanks and seek hope, that you may guide us in your divine light towards the gift of unceasing warmth, joy, and strength. Remind us that today is a gift, that the breath of life is a gift, that each action of compassion, each smile, each tender word a gift. Eternal essence, may we know that even in our palpable sorrow, you offer strength when we otherwise may falter. You offer perseverance when we might otherwise lose hope. You offer gratitude when we might otherwise know ingratitude. So, may we give thanks to this moment, to the songs that radiate throughout our worship hall, to the silence of our prayers, to our spiritual sojourners on the pews surrounding us. And may we remember that we are bound to an infinite blessing we will never truly understand, an essence of love that is fully unknowable, and that in our gratitude we offer divine and sacred thanks. May it be so, and amen. I light a candle for the joys and concerns of those beloved joining us virtually. And I light a candle for all else that we hold in our hearts and our minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as am I. Please reach out with any needs.
The universe is a generous place. Powered by the sun, the food grows, and in this way, our bodies are fed. Powered by our time, our talents, and our treasurers, the church thrives, and in this way, our souls are fed. For those of you watching the service online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website, or by mailing a check to the church office. I invite the ushers forward to receive the offering. For all that you give and all that you do for our church and its wider concerns, we give thanks. And today we are also collecting items for Neighbor Network, and so I invite Cindy Williams forward to give us instructions.
Good morning. I think this is our version of the thick red stew. Thank you for the story. We're doing a collection today for Thanksgiving food. Thank you. You guys signed up on the Sign Up Genius. It was completely full within a few days, so I appreciate it. Neighbor Network is the organization that I've worked with for many, many years. They're a local nonprofit that does Thanksgiving meals, school supplies, and Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, which you'll hear about from me soon enough. But right after the service, I wait outside these doors. I have a bag on wheels that I can collect everything. And if you didn't bring it, if you forgot and signed up, then talk to me. We'll figure out something. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. Our first reading this morning are the words of David Metzapella. It all starts with counting our blessings. If you are not grateful for the good things in your life, you will never be satisfied. Take inventory of the good around you. But don't neglect what's not great either. You also need to be grateful for the hardships, the obstacles, the failures. Why? Because these are the points of wisdom in your life. They give you strength, they teach you how to persevere, and they form your resilience. And these words entitled Jewish Ritual by Rabbi Kerry Olitsky and Daniel Judson. There is a blessing for almost everything in Judaism. There is a blessing for getting up in the morning, for going to sleep, for eating, for seeing wondrous things, for experiencing new things, for the occurrence of good things, for the unfortunate occurrence of bad things, for hearing the news of someone's death, for seeing someone you have not seen in a long time, for going to the bathroom, for studying Torah, for going on a journey, for fulfilling almost any religious commandment, and for just about everything else in life. In the Talmud, one rabbi instructs us to recite 100 blessings throughout the day. His teaching is seen as a way for us to develop a posture of gratitude. Jewish tradition encourages a daily practice of reciting blessings of thanksgiving to God for the goodness in our lives each day. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn number 76 from the Gray Hymnal, For Flowers That Bloom About Our Feet.
Since we don't sing this one very often, I'm going to play through the whole thing so you can hear it, and then we'll all sing together. For one blessed month while living at a Quaker retreat center, I filled my mornings with the art of gardening. Dark green spinach leaves peeked through the hard, dried earth. Decomposing compost hid in a corner of the garden remained ready to feed the vegetables. Together, we harvested each evening's meal. At other times and at other places, I sat in hard wooden chairs, eyes closed, breath calm, and mind quieted for an extended period of meditation. My sabbatical was filled with myriad and perhaps tangential experiences. Yet one thing that remained constant was my journal, pink, blue, and floral. I held a small notebook in my purse for each of those 4 months, writing down phrases and meditations and quotes that spoke to my spirit. One quote came from the book Malokai, a tale of young children facing devastating leprosy. Quote, "There is beauty, even in the least beautiful of things." A second quote arose as I sat around a lunch table at a retreat center, the taste of fresh salad on my tongue, speaking to my fellow sojourners. The quote reads, "It could be awful, but it could be gorgeous." To me, these quotes are powerfully applicable to this month's theme, gratitude. Even in the least beautiful of things, illness, heartache, addiction, gratitude can create beauty. Any experience could be awful. There are innumerable hardships that we each inevitably face, but if met with gratitude, it could be gorgeous. We can find strength, wisdom, compassion, and hope. Who among us has not faced hardship and suffering? Through illness, our body aches. Addiction tears at our spirits. Loss breaks our hearts. Relationships end and we feel broken. Politics inundate us with fear and anxiety, and I'm sure you can add to the litany of what breaks us. I offer one vignette, however, that of my mother. My grandmother was facing old age and the ailments that accompany it. My stepfather suffered with end-stage dementia and the corresponding afflictions he faced. These ailing and aging beloveds both lived with my mother at the same time, as she tended to them with great tenderness. Serving as a primary caregiver, she was often exhausted and overwhelmed. And while experiencing these overlapping difficulties, how does one find strength and perseverance? Gratitude. It could be awful, but it could be gorgeous. Which will you see? Both my stepfather and grandmother quickly deteriorated while in my mother's care as she worked alongside hospice to tend to them in her home. And yet, after talking to her about this experience that drained her body, mind, and spirit, she offered gratitude. Through this intimate time with her mother, she felt closer to her than she ever had. Through these times of compassion and care, she found new ways to connect to her husband of many years. Through caretaking, she could offer a unique and profound love, one that is only evoked in draining yet sacred times, as exemplified in this simple yet profound story. What drained the body led to gratitude and a deep, profound love. Author David Mazzapelli writes of a dichotomy, the seemingly good in contrast with the seemingly bad, and how we need to find gratitude for each. Without gratitude, we will never be satisfied with what we have and who we are. Opportunities for appreciation are readily available, no matter how much hurt we hold inside. There are plentiful days throughout the seasons when the sun warms the air, as clouds slowly take shape and pass through the light blue sky. When a stranger on a crowded street offers us unexpected kindness. There is beauty and awe all around us, even that which is entirely unexpected, even that which is found in our most broken of times, that is deserving of our appreciation as we build up all that is needed to endure and carry on. We are called to be truly grateful for that which we understand to be a failure or a misstep or a regret. Perhaps we misguidedly end a relationship or evoke harsh words in an unnecessary argument. It is these encounters through which we foster wisdom. Machiavelli writes that these are the experiences through which we accumulate the perseverance we mentioned, when love deepens, when we create beauty. What we might understand to be our greatest strengths, compassion or unconditional love or resiliency, often come not from days and months of tranquility and beauty, but of those shrouded in darkness and hopelessness. That is the human condition. There is beauty, even in the least beautiful of things. If we can be grateful for hardship, can we take this one step further to be grateful for all that is? The finite and the infinite, the animate and the inanimate, the sacred and the profane, the nature-made and the human-made. There are precious, imperfect blessings all around us, a butterfly with a broken wing. And we can train ourselves to search for gratitude and not train our minds to focus on the bad. We wake up at 4 a.m. when our alarm clock is set for 7. This occurrence can cause us to settle in frustration and impatience that only serves to harm us. Or we can revel in the opportunity to see the sunrise, beautiful reds and oranges and pinks, peeking over the horizon that we often miss in our slumber. I think of hiking with my beloved husband, Eric. Many of the trails we hike inevitably have a steep incline, lined with trees as we clumsily clamber over rocks. On my off days, I get caught up in what I deem misery of exhaustion and proceed uphill rather cranky. It is at moments like this where my husband touches my arm, points to the distance, and invites me to wonder at a view that we would have missed if we had not ascended the hill. I had a choice. For my strenuous uphill climb, I chose gratitude. I always find it breathtaking to think of the wild improbability of our very existence, how profoundly fine-tuned the universe is for life, how exploding stars light years away create carbon which is the source of all life, how consciousness even began, a great and profound mystery for theologians and scientists alike, is that biology is a god. How single-celled organisms evolved into dinosaurs until an asteroid miraculously hit, which led to just who we are today. What if our parents had never met? If our great-great-great-grandparents had never met? It is astounding. In this way, be grateful for each and every breath you take. Be grateful for the sky and the wind and the clouds, for what you see or hear or smell or touch or taste, for tears of lament and tears of joy. Be grateful for it all. I want to reflect on an ancient teaching of the Jewish faith. Jewish thought offers that it is easy to be dissatisfied and focus on what one does not have, what we lack. Excessive monetary gains, all things tangible and frivolous. True faith is to revel instead in what we do have, which allows us to acknowledge that our lives are filled with innumerable blessings. Woven into thousands of years of Jewish thought, writes Hanan Harkol and Rabbi Leora Kay, is the overriding idea that taking time to recognize what you have in life is one of the most uniquely beneficial rituals we can undertake. It is sacred, holy, and blessed, each opportunity to offer appreciation to the animate or the inanimate. Rabbi Karolinski and Daniel Judson writes, "There is a blessing for almost everything in Judaism." Rabbi Olitsky elaborates on this statement with a litany of examples, ranging from waking up, to eating, to studying faith, to hearing of someone's death. Rabbi Olitsky elaborates, in the Talmud, one rabbi instructs us to recite 100 blessings throughout the day. If we dissect this statement mathematically, we cannot possibly merely be grateful for the noticeably life-giving or opportunities for wisdom, but of the mundane and the monotonous. For a bowl of cereal, a half-full tank of gas, the space heater that I placed strategically right beside the desk from which I write this sermon. How profound is this? According to Hasidic philosophy, saying a blessing over an ordinary activity or objects creates a bridge between heaven and earth. Quote, Jewish tradition encourages a daily practice of reciting blessings of thanksgiving to God for the goodness in our lives each day. As a Unitarian Universalist, I offer thank Goddess, thank Spirit of Life, thank Stardust, thank Love, thank all that is divine for dead leaves that turn red, for a particularly good dinner, for a new toothbrush. The sacred for the ability to taste chocolate, for a comfortable mattress. How can this theology transform us? Appreciation is not only fulfilling, but it becomes a true and basic tenet of any spiritual life. It becomes a tenet to be practiced by those of any faith tradition. We are guided in our daily living through an endless spiritual practice of gratitude. What of this moment? What of these spiritual sojourners? What of these pews and stained glass windows and silence and candles and prayers and music? What a blessing. So, tenderly hold these sacred tenets in your spirits. Know the blessing of the sun and the moon and the sky. Live in this practice as a person of faith, a person who embodies spirituality. Make your faith life-giving. Revel in the wild improbability that your heart beats and lungs breathe, for this is a blessing above all others, from which no others could be known. Know that when steeped in hardship, that with gratitude it could be awful, but it could be gorgeous. That there is beauty even in the least beautiful of things. And that in that beauty, we find appreciation and gratitude. And as such, we deeply know the power of hope and love and compassion and strength. Bring this with you to the world. Hold this in your very being. Grasp it in the spark within. Hold this in the divinity of your spirit, this power of gratitude. Hardship and suffering are inevitable in this forever finite realm. We each mourn and face fear and face anger and feel destitute and get ill. Yet, just as universal is the opportunity to offer gratitude for the joyful and the sorrowful, the celebratory and the heartbreaking, the broken and the hopeful. So, may we leave this sacred and hallowed space with gratitude in our hearts and spirits and minds, ready to meet this day and every day in joy and in celebration and in love and in spirituality and in faith. May it be so, and amen. rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 1064 in the teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home. We offer our gratitude for the joy that sustains us, for the unceasing hope that gives us strength. We offer our gratitude for the broken heart that taught us how to love, for the obstacles and failures that taught us wisdom beyond our years. We offer gratitude for the darkness that gave way to light, for the difficult yesterdays that lead to a more beautiful tomorrow. So, may we leave this sacred and hallowed space, ready to appreciate all that is beautiful and broken in this sacred, holy, and blessed world. Go in peace and amen.
I had this all set up for a gig that I had.